Welcome YouTubers, thank you for being here and for watching my video today. I'm so very grateful. I typically do readings for deceased loved ones, and that was the intention on this video today. It took a little bit of a different turn, so I'm going to post this video under two categories. It will be under the deceased loved ones, but it will also be under for Scorpio. So, and I'll explain more as we get into the reading, but I requested today when I started making the video, or before I recorded it actually, I requested a reading for a deceased loved one, specifically for Scorpio. And I've gotten it, but I feel like there's two different layers of something happening here. So that's why I'm going to post it under two different categories. So depending on which one you are viewing this under, this may be a slightly different story for you. So bear in mind that as you watch this video, and I'll explain more in a minute, but first, get my business out of the way. Thank you for being here. I'm so grateful if you would hit that like button. If you like this kind of content and you'd like to see more, please subscribe. I'm just getting started here on YouTube. Even making a comment helps my channel to grow. And most importantly, it tells the YouTube algorithm that somebody likes this content, let's show it to more people. So it shows it to a broader audience, which means the message is more likely to reach the family or loved one that it's meant for. All right, so let's get on with the message here. Thank you for watching. Again, I appreciate and value your time. So today, the message, as I said, is twofold. So, and I'm going to try to make this simple, not complicated. Again, my original intention, and I did get a gentleman coming through speaking to someone here. Now, when I made the request, I asked for Scorpio to be well, I didn't word it that way. My intention was that the person viewing this would be the Scorpio, okay? But it is possible the person coming through, the deceased person on the other side, could also be a Scorpio. So bear that in mind as you're listening. The gentleman that's coming through, this deceased, if this is your deceased loved one, is someone who loved to garden. Now, if you're reading this as a Scorpio, and this is someone who's living in your life, which I said was the second layer, or second story, then just bear that in mind. So when I'm talking about this person who's speaking today, bear in mind, could be a deceased loved one, or it could be someone that you have experienced or are currently experiencing in your life who is living. And you could be the Scorpio whose story this is about. I hope that's not too complicated. Believe me, it was not what I intended, but you know, it is what it is. So, the gentleman coming through is someone who liked to garden. He's showing me himself, you know, he's perspiring, not in an ugly way, but, you know, he's working outside. He's got on those, you know, like work boots that you would work outside in. He's leaning against, like it's sort of half crossed his legs, and he's got his arm propped up on the handle of a shovel, and he's just kind of standing there looking. I think I believe he was digging a hole to plant something or to move something in the garden, and he's just sort of standing there looking out at his garden with admiration, with enjoyment, with pleasure. It was something that he enjoyed doing. I don't think this was necessarily his profession. I think it was his either avocation or hobby or passion. So you may know this person for that particular quality, because the reason I'm splitting this reading is because he gave me very little past that point. And so that's why I feel like maybe this is also a reading for a broader audience, for people who maybe have someone living who fits this description. Anyway, lastly, he says that you might know him because he would smoke the occasional cigar. Okay. But in the end, regardless if this person is living across over, this is a love story. But a sad one. I'm sorry. Well, not ultimately, but in the interim it is. So this is for you, the viewer, someone that, let's see, how do I say this? He's two things. He's saying he wanted to hold on to his lifestyle, to his independence, and you wanted to hold on to him. Now again, if this is for someone living, bear that in mind. This is someone who's you had a relationship with that you wanted to stand and fight for this relationship. And this person, so now I'm talking about if this person was living. This person, you know, this card can be looking at waiting for your ships to come in, looking at distant shores. Sometimes it's about timing sometimes. And I feel like you kept waiting and waiting for this person to come around. You kept hoping they would bring their cup of love to you. You kept hoping they would kind of have an epiphany about your relationship. And instead they just stood on the shore and they kept looking out and looking out. And this is like a good depiction of you just sitting there kind of like, okay, well, I guess that cup's not coming. Or maybe, and this could be also, he didn't want to give the cup. And then I feel like Spirit intervened. Spirit was trying to balance both of you. Spirit was trying to, because the Temperance card is, well, it can be several things, but it can be about balancing opposites, basically. Balancing universal energy so that you're both contributing positively into the energetic realm. That's a little bit more esoteric meaning of it, but it is about balance essentially. And what I feel like is you got to the point where, now this could have been either of you. I feel like it's you, the viewer. You know, the depiction on this card is, this is the Moon card, which typically means fears or things not seen under the surface, secrets, those kinds of things, which certainly could have been the case. I feel like this man was not forthcoming. He wasn't one to share. He wasn't kind of the open with his emotions kind of person. And I think you felt like you were just like swimming and sinking rather down in the water like this woman is doing. She has this look on her face of, to me, it looks like resolution. Well, I'm just resolved. This is just the way it is. And she doesn't look like she's struggling. She's just sinking to the bottom here. That's what it looks like in this card. And I'm drawn to these two. They could be dogs. I think they look like wolves, but you know, one is black and one is white. And I think you felt torn. You felt like you went back and forth. But I love this person, but nothing is happening. And I love this person, and nothing happening. And you know, like the little devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other, trying to coax you into doing something with this man. And then I think, again, you finally just said, you know what, I just can't do this anymore, or this could have been him. Admittedly, the way the cards are falling here, this could have been him that made this decision. If this was a living relationship, and I'm going to come back to your deceased loved one here in a minute. If this was a living relationship for you, then it could have also been him. And, you know, the death card to me is, it's death. You notice on the card it says death and rebirth. it's most of the time a transformation. So this relationship transformed, but I think it ultimately ended is what it looks like to me. Or it feels, rather. It feels like it ended. But I think what you don't know, one of the hidden things, is that if this man ended it, he was essentially setting you free, because he knew he couldn't commit to you in a way that you wanted. And he set you free to find your happiness, to find your wish, so that you could go about life and fulfill your wishes. And yes, it hurt terribly. You felt left out in the cold. You felt, depressed even. And you turned inward. You turned inward. I think you felt restricted by your own emotions. Let me put it that way. You felt restricted by your own emotions, like you couldn't move past that point. You couldn't move on to anything better. You couldn't find a new spark in life. It has just felt like this dead-end road for you. And you felt like you were at a crossroads, or maybe let me rephrase that. I think that's where you may be now. If this is, again, is a living reading, you may be at this crossroads where you've just experienced this, or in the middle of it now. You feel like you're at a crossroads. Yeah, this Ten of Swords, I mean, that's just like typically in the Rider-Waite, someone lying down with swords sticking out of their back. So I feel like you're just been so in your head, and this is anxiety. This is, can be sleepless nights. It's just a hard, heavy burden. And then we have the Chariot card, which is, forward movement. Yes, it can mean change and forward movement. But the thing to note here in this reading is the Emperor is the one who drives this chariot. So I feel that one. Sorry, Siri was telling me about chariot here on my watch. Oh, that's funny. So the Emperor drives the chariot. And if you'll notice, there's a white horse and the black horse. Kind of brings me back to these two figures here, the black and the white. Again, there were two paths, two people who loved each other in their own ways, but needed to go, one is going one way and one is pulling the other way. And I just feel like in this situation, it was time for you both to move forward, but you couldn't make that work together. And again, he's telling me he set you free, that he did it out of love, and that he wanted you, well, both of you, frankly, both of you, but him, but you, to have a new beginning, a fresh new beginning, to find that spark in your life again, to, feel like you wanted to go on an adventure or find a new love. The Nine of Wands is the wounded warrior card. It's the end. The nine is saying, okay, I'm fighting. I've got, it's fighting the good fight. He's saying you fought the good fight. You fought for this love. You did everything you could to keep this love alive. But in the end, it was just time, and that's the message. This card often comes in when I'm doing a reading, especially for deceased loved ones. It says, it's a message. It's a message, but it's a fast message. It's someone saying, okay, I'm moving on. Usually it means coming in or fast communication, but the communication is about these lovers. And of course, the Lovers was originally called the Choice card. So it's about a decision about love is what I'm getting here. And the decision about the love is the Victory card. It's saying you both can have victory, even though this might have been a difficult ending, but you'll have a victory separately as opposed to together, that this is for your highest good, that you've planted seeds, and you've planted seeds go forward. And this card, you notice how this at the top of the stairway, it always reminds me of enlightenment, an awakening of sorts. And he's saying, yeah, I don't want to go too far into the deck here, but the message is simply, don't get in your head too much about it. Don't dwell on the past. Don't dwell on the loss. Dwell on the freedom that you have now to start over. And I know that's a platitude when you're hurting and you're missing someone. I do know that. But he's just giving me this sense of he loved you enough to set you free. That's kind of the bottom line. I may title this video that. He loved you enough to set you free. That's really the message he's giving me here, because, you know, the Devil card, it can be a lot of things. It can be, you know, addiction, certainly that's oftentimes. It can be obsession. And the two-layered meaning of that is he saw that you were obsessed with him and this love. And if you can see this figure on the bottom right of this card here, you know, it comes back to that being in your head, being in angst about the relationship. But it also is a card of restriction, being held back. Largely, no, not largely, but often self-imposed restriction, because in the traditional Rider-Waite card, those two people that have chains around them that they could simply, but blindfolded, and they could simply take the chains off, take the blindfold off, take the chains off, and walk away. So to me, I get that that's what this, you know, and again, I've never gotten this message from this card, but it's like he's got his hand out. I'm setting you free from this restriction, from this angst, from this anxiety. I'm setting you free from this so that you can find another, you know, find something else in life that you can celebrate, because you really that wasn't gonna happen in this relationship, apparently. So I hope that's been helpful for you Scorpios, again, that have the living person. And then now I'm going to talk just a little bit about the person who's crossed over, who's bringing this message in. And it's not an unsimilar message. It's similar in that he left, but he left permanently, or not permanently, but physically. He physically left. That he sees that you were grieving over him, that you really have had a very, very difficult time letting him go, grieving this situation. You felt at times like you really couldn't get past it, like this, back to this woman here on this card. You just felt like you were sinking. You were just under the water, looking up, and just resolved to sinking to the bottom. Feeling quite hopeless, actually. Let's see. Yeah, that you haven't been able to get past the shore in terms of moving on, or to getting on with your life. It's what it looks like. I think he's saying you've had other people interested in you, but you're not. Let's see the expression on this woman's face here. She's like, I'm just not interested. I'm just going to sit here in the yard and I'm just stare off into space. I could care less, not interested in other people, or maybe it's just life in general. But I'm feeling like this, on this Temperance card now, this is a little different message. This could be divine intervention. And that's what I feel like is happening. I mentioned that it's a card of balance, but it's also an angel. And I feel like that's what's happening. Divine intervention, and also the divine meaning the other side, meaning this person that you loved who's crossed over is now coming in. He's reaching out to you. He's trying to tell you that you are restricting yourself, that it's you that's keeping yourself held back, that he knows that you loved him, but it's time for you to transform. It's time for you to experience rebirth and let go of the past, so that you can find your happiness in your Nine of Cups. He's saying, let go of your grief. You've had enough time to go within, to reflect, to try to heal, and now it's time to move on. It's time for you to celebrate in other ways. You're at a crossroads. You've been, no, he's correcting me, this is past tense. You've been at this crossroads. From the time he crossed over, you've been kind of, you know, typically this card is two swords crossed. But he's saying, but you don't need to be there. You don't. You can take the blindfold. It's time for you to take this blindfold off and walk forward again, to put down this anxiety and this hurt and this negative thinking and move forward. It's time for you to move forward and have a new beginning here. It's time for you to put down these wands, this burden, so that you can find love again in your life and move on. And move on. Okay, well, this video was longer than I anticipated, and a little different. So whoever was watching today, whichever crowd, if you were the Scorpio with someone who's living, or you have this as a deceased loved one who's speaking to you, of course, I wish you healing here. And if this was a deceased loved one, know that they are reaching out to share that they see what's going on in your life, and they care, and they just want you to know that they're okay, and they want you to be okay, and that they do see, they're comforting you in knowing that they do see what's going on in your life, and how you've been handling their passing. So if you've made it to the end, I'll ask you again, please kindly hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I'm just getting started here on YouTube, so all of that matters tremendously. And I really appreciate you watching. I value your time, as I said, and I really am grateful. And I hope you'll stick around for more. Check back in. I'm trying to post on a more regular schedule now. And if you make a comment or want to share your story here, that's also appreciated. I do try to respond to my comments, although it may take me a day or two. I do try to answer them all. Okay, thank you all so very, very much. I appreciate you watching, and I wish you many, many blessings. Take care. Bye-bye.